How's it going, everyone? Chris here, out on the old motorbicycle again at the weekend. I've got a bit of a question for this week's video. I wanted to know who makes the worst type of driver. Now, I don't mean between male and female. I mean those drivers who drive like idiots purposely. You know, think of your white van men, your reps and your taxi drivers. You know, those guys who always stuck up your back end, no patience whatsoever, overtaking around corners, overtaking in like 30 zones on blind hills and things like that. Or do you think the worst type of drivers are those who are completely oblivious to what mistakes they're making? You know, those people who, like, you're coming up to a crossroads and your lights are on green and someone just comes trundling through a red light with no idea of what sort of a hazard they're causing. I mean, another example is you know, sort of people at roundabouts where they go straight on in the right lane or straight on in the left lane but drift into the right lane, or you know, all the way around in the left lane, things like that. Those sort of people who don't have a clue how to drive. I've got a great example. There was I live near a school, outside a school, obviously, so there's school markings outside our house. Obviously means that you can't stop on them while school's in progress, obviously for the safety of children, so they've got a clear road to cross the road, clear way to cross the road. You always get mums driving down, parking straight on the yellow lines, you know, blocking the visibility for everyone else. But this woman, she parked on the yellow lines, and it was actually her own child who then got out of the car, run behind the back of her car and run out into the road, and was nearly hit by a car coming up the road. And she had no idea that it was actually her own fault, that if, you know, she's parked on these yellow lines that are meant to prevent, you know, obstructions, so that children aren't running out between parked cars across a busy road. But she had no clue that it was actually her own fault that she'd, you know, blocked the visibility for this other driver. It's insane. So I have to wonder, you know, who makes the worst kind of drivers. I was watching a video recently on YouTube, actually, from a cyclist in London. You know, I've got my helmet cam. Often a lot of cyclists use them as well. You know, they're just handy things just to document what you come across on the roads. There's all sorts of numpties, and obviously being on a motorbike or a cycle, you've got to you know, it works as a bit of protection if anything does happen and you have to go through court with it. At least you've got a bit of evidence, and at least for me it allows you to do these kind of moto vlog things at the same time. But this cyclist who was going along, and this guy pulled across him at a junction. I think he was he'd obviously not seen him, and it was just a bit impatient, wanting to get across this junction in a gap before the car behind this cyclist got to him. He ended up clipping this cyclist's back wheel, knocking him off. But it wasn't actually that guy who caused the main hazard. I mean, obviously he knocked him off. It's bad enough, but at least he would have only got away with just a couple of bruised knees, a couple of bruised hands. It was the woman then who was coming out of the junction. This guy had come off his bike, was laying on the ground with his bike, and this woman had somehow not seen him fall off his bike right in front of her and continued to drive over him, completely oblivious that she'd actually run over his bike, and just carried on going. She just didn't stop until the car physically wouldn't move anymore, because this bike was tangled up underneath the car with this guy still attached to it with his his clipped in pedals. It was crazy, and it's all going off. You get to watch it through this guy's helmet cam, and still afterwards this woman was just completely oblivious to that she'd nearly killed this guy after he'd already been knocked off his bike. And luckily, since the past few weeks since I've been riding a motorbike, I've had no problems with people pulling out on me or anything like that. And even as a car driver, I've not had it. I mean, obviously you come across numpties who cut across your path and do stupid stuff, but luckily nothing that's ever caused an actual an actual collision, I always try to drive drive and ride pretty defensively. It's especially important on a motorbike because you look that little bit more vulnerable. But it's crazy how you've got to watch out for everyone else on the road. You know, everyone at every junction, you can even make eye contact with them, and then they can still pull out on you. It's crazy. I hear lots of stories as well from my fiancée Laura, who's a driving instructor. The sort of things people do in impatience to get around her and her learners, even though they're doing the speed limit or they're stopped at a roundabout or a junction with traffic coming the opposite direction, so they can't actually go anywhere. And just because it's got a learner sign on it, they'll be straight on the horn trying to weave around them. And in the worst case scenarios, are the stories I've heard, you get people trying to overtake in a 30 zone up a hill with a blind summit, but not actually going faster than their car is going, so they're just like driving alongside them, and it's usually Laura, the instructor, who has to put the brakes on the learner car in order to allow the overtaking car to pull back in front of her car, because the car's coming in the opposite direction, and there's going to be a head-on collision. So let me know down in the comments if you've had any run-ins with other drivers, whether they're complete numpties who have been oblivious to what they're doing, or those other types of drivers who are purposely driving like an idiot because they've got no patience. I mean, let me know down in the comments which type of driver you think's worse and should be made to retake the test. What do you reckon to my new indicators, by the way? You can see them down there. Just got some little universal clear lens ones to replace these big ugly 80s style units that are on this bike originally. I think that's about as far as customization is going to go for this one. There's not really much I fancy doing to this little 125. If only you could smell that nice bit of manure that's you just drove through. It's manure smell. I do actually need a new exhaust. That was one of the things that I needed to get. Well, look at all you're not able to see them, but in the distance there's loads of parachuters coming down. I reckon the angle on this GoPro is going to be way too wide to be able to see them. It looks pretty cool. Big flock of them coming down. Anyway, one of the things I do need to get is a new exhaust. This one's blowing like mad, and it was one of the things that I knew when I bought the bike that needed doing. So one of the reasons why I got it at quite a good price. But I just can't find one. There's aftermarket ones you can get, but it's like 300 quid for a full stainless steel system. But for a 125 bike, it's not something that I really fancy getting. The trouble is, since this blowing exhaust got louder and louder, I've kind of grown fond of the louder noise. So instead of getting just a standard replacement, I'd quite like to get a new aftermarket rear can, or at least get an exhaust with no baffles in it. But there used to be some Pro Torque ones on eBay, but I've not managed to find one. It's just my luck that they've all gone by the time I come to want one. I saw a couple of videos, like sound videos from guys on YouTube who had, been doing showing off the sound of them. And it was only 6 months ago when one of the guys got one, so obviously just missed out. I'll have to keep an eye out. But for now, I've got this super loud blowing exhaust, which sounds like some, you know, some like 600cc monsters it's razzing up road, except it's only doing about 20 to 30 mile an hour. I wonder if you can see those things yet. Those paragliders. It's pretty cool. I'll tell you what though, it's only, well, it's October now. It's definitely getting a bit chillier. I think I might have to start putting a fleece on under this leather jacket, not just a t-shirt. It's getting a little bit chilly around my neck. I think my long johns might have to come out from underneath these biker jeans. They've got some nice padding around my hips and on my knees for keeping my knees and hips warm, but my thighs are a little bit cold. Cold wind seems to be coming through denim and Kevlar. Luckily managed to keep on riding so far into the year anyway, and stayed ride most weekends. Not be long till it's minus figures and rain every weekend. It's great, this exhaust as well, with it blowing it. Oh, chicken in the road. It's not something you see every day. With this exhaust blowing, it backfires a little bit as well on deceleration, which is quite cool.